Lots of books are written on ways to diet and the best kind of clothes to wear to look fashionable. Unfortunately, most of those books are written by men. One Size Fits All of What? By Erma Bombeck. Read by Karl. Shape up or sing as a group. The women on the Mortgage Manor Housing Development just started a Watch Your Weight group. We get together every Monday for coffee and donuts, sit around and watch each other grow. Someone makes us all feel better to know there are other women in the world that cannot cross their legs in hot weather. The other morning, after I confessed to eating half a pillowcase of Halloween candy, I still have a shoebox of chocolate bars in the freezer to go, we got to talking about motivation of diets. When my nightgown bounds me, I go on a date, said one. Not me, said another. When someone compliments me on my A-line dress and it isn't A-line, I'll know. I have to be going someplace, said another woman. And sure it sure is that if I was sitting here and someone invited me to the White House, I could lose 15 pounds just like that. I'm motivated by vacations, another one. I starved myself for a vacation so strangers never see me before it can load me up with food when I return home, look exactly like I did before I started to diet. Home movies did it for me, said a woman, reaching for a donut. You mean when you see yourself and you look fat in them? I mean when they drape me with a sheet and show them on my backside. Finally, I spoke up. There's only one thing that motivates me to lose weight. That is one word from my husband. My overeating is his fault. If he just show annoyance or disgust or say to me, shape up or sing as a group, I do something about it. I told him the other night, I said, it's a shame your wife is walking around with 15 or 20 excess pounds. If things keep going on, I won't be able to sit on a wicker chair. What are you going to do about it? I asked. Sit there and offer me another cookie? Laugh at me, shame me into it, humiliate me at parties. Sure, I'd get sore, but I'd get over it and be a far better thinner person for it. Just one word from you, and I'd be motivated. Diet, he said quietly from behind his paper. Fortunately, that wasn't the word. Pass me another donut, Maxine. Weighing in. I have dieted continuously for the past 2 decades and lost a total of 758 pounds. By all calculations, I should be hanging from a charm bracelet. Although I kid Weight Watchers a lot, it's the only organization in which I ever lost a great deal of weight. But I fought them. Every Thursday morning, a group of us had to weigh in before the lecture. A ritual was enough to boggle the imagination. We got together a checklist of precautions before we actually stepped on the scale. Bathroom? Check. Water bill? Check. Have you removed underwear, wedding rings, nail polish? Check. Set aside shoes, corn pads, and earrings? Check. Are you wearing a summer dress when you should wear your coat? Check. The first week I stepped on the scale and my instructor said, you have gained. Next week I cut my hair. The next week he said, you have lost 8 ounces, but that is not enough. I had the fillings in my teeth removed. The third week I dropped a pound. My instructor was still not pleased. I had my tonsils taken out. Finally, she really chewed me out. She accused me of not sticking to the diet and not taking it seriously. That hurt. Now, I don't want to tell you, I said, but I think I'm pregnant. How far? She said coldly, clicking her ballpoint pen to make a notation on my card. Possibly 3 days, I said. She glowered. Any other excuses? Would you believe I have a cold and my head is swollen? No. How about I was celebrating the buzzard's return to Hinckley, Ohio, and then butter my popcorn? She tapped her pen impatiently on the card and stared at me silently. Went in the navel? I offered feebly. How about first one at the trough? She asked dryly. I learned quickly never to argue with a woman who had the scales on her side. I saw my old instructor the other day, and she eyed me carefully and said, when are you returning to class? As soon as I have my appendix removed, I said. I'm not sure, but I think I heard her moan. Think fat. I'm sick or tired of people saying to me, boy, do you have it made. A sober husband, 3 healthy kids, a house in the suburbs, and a little part-time job to keep you in pantyhose. Let me tell you, my life is not all pretzels and beer. How would you like to get up every morning of your life and confront a 17-year-old daughter who is 5'6", weighs 110 pounds, refuses to eat breakfast, and insists, I'm not hungry. Every time she says it, it burns me up. I set 2 alarm clocks to make sure I don't miss a meal, and she says, I'm not hungry. My husband says I am suffering from repressed antagonistic rivalry that manifests itself in many strained mother-daughter relationships and simply means resentment, jealousy, and competition between us. Nonsense, I told him. It's just heartburn from the cold cabbage rolls I ate before I went to bed last night. The other morning, as I forced down 3 pieces of bacon she left untouched, I had it out with her. Look, I said, it's not normal to wake up in the morning and not be hungry. From the time you eat dinner the night before to the time you eat your lunch at school, it's 16 hours. That's too long between meals. But some people don't need food. Don't need food, I gasped. I don't want to frighten you with a buzzard followed you to school the other morning. I can't help it. It upsets my stomach when I eat. Do you know what you're doing, Sheer Mother? I sighed. Killing her. That's right. I don't know how much longer I can go on carrying you. When you were a baby, I didn't mind eating your leftovers, the strained peas, the mashed squash, and the pureed lamb. But as you got older, the burden became greater. Having 2 breakfasts in the last 17 years is beginning to show on me. I put on weight easily. Remember when I got a flu shot and put on 3 pounds from it? But if you don't care what happens to your mother... The dog doesn't eat his breakfast and you don't yell at him, she said, slamming out the door. You know what? With a little ketchup, it didn't taste bad. Fatties versus thinnies. There's one person in this world I have absolutely no compassion for. It's a size 5 telling me she can't like to put on weight and can't. It's like Jean-Jacques Gabor complained to a spinster that they don't make drip-dry wedding dresses. One of these frails, namely in the supermarket the other day, and charged, "Why don't you ever write about thin girls who are just as miserable being thin as fat people are being overweight?" Look, thermometer hips, I said, looking around nervously. The girls on top see me talking to you. I'll be dropped from their, excuse the expression, rolls. You're a no-no. But why, she whined. How can we have peace tomorrow when fatties and thinnies can't communicate? Looked up tiredly. What do you want from me? Tell me how to put on weight, she said. It's ridiculous, I sighed. Don't know how I do it. All I know is I gain weight when I have to eat my own words. Gain weight when I chew on a pencil. Added 5 pounds in the labor room. You must have some tips you can pass on to thin girls on how to gain weight. All right, here's the bombeck flab plan. Go on a diet. There's no better way to gain weight than call everyone you know and tell them you're going to lose 15 pounds by the time the pool opens. You can sometimes add as much as 2 pounds a week. Agree to go to your class reunion. As if on cue, your waistband will go tighter, your chins will cascade down your chest, and your girl soldiers like Joan Crawford. Read a cookbook before retiring. Rich recipes at bedtime are hard to digest and tend to turn to fat. They also tend to get you up in the middle of the night to fry donuts and make molds. Sit next to stout people. Overweights are contagious. They always carry food in their body and have an overwhelming urge to share it. I've gained more weight in exercise classes, health spas, and centers than anywhere else. Drastic measures. Get pregnant. Suffer a hangover. Means your head gets fat. Look into the new fat transplants. I just tell my friend who was such a boring donor. In fact, I'll even throw in my Debbie Drake record. You want me for lunch? In trying to rationalize my flab the other day, it occurred to me the high cost of dieting is keeping me portly. Think about it. You ever see a fat Ford sister? Or an obese Rockefeller socialite? Or Tubby in the White House? Face it, the good life begets a slender figure. Truth is that they can well afford the dietary food products, the fresh fruits out of season, the imported fresh fish, and the lean steaks. They can absorb the cost of new wardrobe and the extensive alterations to the old ones. But mostly they can go to the healths and spas, which cost anywhere from $2 to $1,500 a pound. Actually, I've only seen one spa in my life. It was the Elizabeth Arden Spa in Phoenix. A friend of mine was spending a week there and called me and said, "We'd like to have you for lunch." "You are desperate for roughage, aren't you?" I said. "We would like to have you as a guest," she said. It's a beautiful, incredible place. To begin with, it was lousy with mirrors. I had the good sense to take all mine down when I passed a mirror one day, sucked into my stomach, and nothing moved. All the dietees wear white terracotta robes and scuffs and wonderful smelling cream on their faces. They are massaged, pampered, exercised, sunned, and rest on a schedule that is carried around in their white terracotta pockets. The lunch was simple. Cottage cheese, fresh fruit, and rye crisp. Wish I could afford not to eat like this, I said sadly, but I come from a home where gravy is a beverage. Don't be ridiculous, said my friend. You could duplicate the spa in your own home, schedule and all. At home, I slipped into my chenille duster with a button over the stomach and consulted my schedule in the pocket. At 8 a.m., I ate the leftovers from breakfast. At 9 a.m., I sat in the washer during spin, which is wondrous for my hips but dissolved my breakfast. At 10, I chinned myself 50 times on the guardrail of the bunk beds. At 11, I jogged to the garbage can, followed by lunch at noon, cottage cheese, and beef treatment at 12:30. I rubbed hand cream on my elbows. I lasted until 1 p.m. By that time, the bathrobe was hot and the cottage cheese had worn off. Then I saw it, half of an Oreo cookie in the carpet. Leaned over and puffed on my mouth and slapped my fat little smile. Money may make you thin, but you cannot buy ecstasy. 3 sizes fits all. I've always admired women who can wear a one-size swimsuit. That is either a size 12, a 14, or a 16. I wear all 3 sizes at the same time. My friends tell me exercise is the secret. It's not how much you carry, it's how it is packaged and distributed. I stood in the front of the mirror the other day and assessed myself. Imagine, if you will, the state of Texas. I look terrific at Amarillo, but it's on me hit Dallas and Fort Worth I begin to blouse. Don't really thin out again until Corpus Christi. But after Houston, who hangs on to see Corpus Christi? I'm exercised, I really have. Once I signed up for a course at the neighborhood YWCA. The classes were held in the church, and because of the popularity of the class, we were put in the church proper. One afternoon, the minister visited and paused long enough to see me put a pair of pedal pushers trying to touch my nose to my bent knee, which was resting on a pew, and said, "You are desecrating the altar." I transferred to cake decorating class and licked my way to 6 additional pounds. For a while, I used to eat my dessert at breakfast while watching a Swedish girl on television. She held me spellbound by winding her leg around her neck. I wasn't listening to her for over a year, and one day I wheezed, strained, and gasped, and finally got one of my ankles hooked over the other. I quit before I really hurt myself. The idea of going to a spa really intrigued me. It sounded great to be to splash around the water and steam your pores and ride a bike to nowhere, but going to a spa is like having a cleaning lady. You can't go to a spa looking like you need to go to a spa any more than you can have a cleaning woman walking around that needs cleaning. Somehow I just couldn't get myself in shape for a towel. For the last year, I've watched my husband faithfully execute his Air Force exercises, which could account for the decline in enlistments. If there's anything in this world more boring than a man who exercises regularly, I have not met it. You should join me, he keeps insisting. A few push-ups, a little jogging, it's good for the old body. The why aren't your knees straight when you bend over to touch your toes? I suppose you could do it better? Sure, by letting my fingernails go 14 inches. Not fooling around with some amateur. Wrinkle City. All I said was my wife was beginning to look more like John Wayne's every day of my life. Then my neighbor said she had this book on body and facial exercises that you can do while you do your homework. Next thing you know, I get a box of homemade cookies from my bread man's wife. I don't understand it. Guess I started the first day I began exercise. I was on the phone, talking to my neighbor with my knees partially bent, my legs apart, and as I talked, I slapped my knees together. When the bread man walked by the window, I waved. He waved feebly, put a package of brown and serve rolls on the milk box, and left. Way that week in front of the picture window, I rolled my head slowly 5 times to left to right, then 5 times right to left. In between, I would shake my head from side to side, going faster and faster until everything was a blur. I think I saw my bread man running toward his truck. For the neckline, I was instructed to stick my tongue out as far as I could and try to curl the tip. As I did so, I noticed my bread man looking back at me with both his fingers in his ears and his tongue extended. He looked ridiculous. The following week, I worked on my chin by throwing my head back and biting into an imaginary apple with my lower lip protruding. I could really feel the chin and neck muscles pulling and tried to tell my bread man so, but he stood his truck, folded a coffee cake like a newspaper, and literally threw into the bushes. That was strange. Didn't see him again for a week. But this time I worked up to the facelift exercises. As I did the breakfast dishes, I winked my left eye and at the same time winked the side of my mouth. As I winked and smiled, I looked up to see the bread man staring at me. That was the last time I saw him. My wife called to thank me tearfully for being the single guiding force that cured her husband's drinking problem. Same afternoon, I found a box of cookies in my mailbox from her. Yesterday, my neighbor came over with a new guide for beauty. She said for tired brains, just sit in a chair with the arms close to your sides and pretend you're floating on a white cloud on the blue sky. Like I told her, we crazy people running around like my bread man were afraid to close my eyes. Creeping underwear. We've virtually erased bad breaths in this country, stamped out dandruff, and done away with burning, itchy feet. We've been unable to conquer one of society's most dreaded diseases, creeping underwear. Everyone talks about creeping underwear, but no one does anything about it. Technical research has put powdered orange juice on the moon. Your nursery is still plagued with pantyhose that won't stay up, slips that won't stay down, and girls that should contain a warning wear at your own risk label. To suggest that creepy underwear changes a person's personality is the understatement of this decade. The other night I went to a movie, a fully confident, well-adjusted, stable human being. 2 hours later I was a totally different person. My slip had kept my waistline to form a solid inner tube which added about 15 pounds to my frame. My girdle, in a series of slow maneuvers, had reached several plateaus during the evening. First it slid to my waist. Finding the area was already occupied by a slip, it moved upward, cutting my chest in half and gradually where it upwards where it pinched my neck and caused my head to grow 2 inches taller. The pantyhose were quite another story. They kept sliding halfway down until I realized in the movie I was sitting on the label of the waistband. If I dare stand up, the crotch would bind my ankles together. I tried to adjust these garments in a way so as not to call attention, but every time I bumped my elbow, 2 straps slid under my shoulder and bound my nose like a straitjacket. My son was the first to notice the change in my personality. "What are you doing sitting under the seat in a fetal position?" he asked. "You trying to tell me you do not like the movie?" "I'm suffering from creeping underwear," I whispered. "She'll take a cold aspirin before you left the house," he said. "Now get up here and sit up straight in your seat." He doesn't understand. They really do. Nearly 98.2% of all the victims of creeping underwear are women. As I sat there, I looked on the seat next to me and saw another woman in a similar position. "What are you doing down here?" I asked. I crossed my legs and was all but flogged to death by a loose supporter, she sighed. "Do you think they'll ever find a cure?" I asked hopelessly. "I hope so," she said. "Your tongue is beginning to swell." Boots! Boots! I have no idea of the circumference of my legs. I only know they are bigger than a water glass, smaller than a furnace duct, and impossible to fit into knee-length boots. It's probably my own sensitivity, but I always imagine boot salesmen are the lowest in seniority. They're serving time in this department only because their father, who owns the store, wants to keep them humble. My salesman was a leg watcher. Not mine, however. "I would like a pair of boots," I said. He scrutinized me closely, squinted his eyes, and appeared with a pair of Arctic boots that laced up to the knee. "No, you don't understand," I said. "I don't want to get a construction job. I want a pair of dressy boots to wear with wools and jumpers." With detachment, he went over to his display table and returned the boot so long and narrow it had an echo. It was the only pair of legs in the world that would fit in that boot, Phyllis Diller's. "Was a zipper?" I asked. "There was no zipper," he said. "The new easy stretch pull-ons." He reached in to take out the tissue paper and get his arm stuck. "Perhaps one with a zipper?" I suggested. He placed the zippered boot in my foot and began to ease the zipper all the way up to my ankle bone. Then it stopped. "Thanks anyway," I said, but... No, he insisted. "It'll work. Just twist your foot a little and bear down." A crowd began to form. "Really," I said, "it's no use. The boot is too..." "We can do it," he insisted. His pocket comb fell out and he ignored it. The blood rushed to his head and I feared for a nosebleed. "Look, lady," he shouted, forcing the zipper. "Suck in! Suck in!" My leg throbbed. I spoke softly. "Appreciate what you're trying to do, but just bring me that pair over on the central table." "Are you sure these are what you want?" he asked. "They will do fine," I said. I slipped these on the ankle-length white boot with a stencil of Cinderella and a castle on the side. I made it be a fashion plate, but I'll be a smash at show and tell. Discrimination. As a woman who thinks a needle is something you take out splinters with and slips on in your bare feet, I've always been annoyed with the inequality of alterations. Why is it when a man buys a suit, his alterations come free? When a woman buys an outfit of equal and more value, she pays extra. I was with my husband a few years ago when he bought a $49.95 suit with a vest, 2 contrasting pairs of slacks, a matching tarn, and a set of dishes. Not only was it a cheap suit, the label said, "Made in occupied Guadalcanal, fashion capital of the world, but it hung on him like an ugly blind date. I don't like the way it breaks across the shoulders, he said, twisting before the three-way mirror. And the sleeves, I like them short enough to count my fingers. Maybe you can uh, uh, reset them? No problem, smiled the salesman. Too much slack in the seat, and the waistband seems a little loose. Maybe a tuck or two. Of course, grinned the salesman. Let me summon the tailor. The tailor spent 35 minutes chalking up my husband's anatomy. The suit looks like a steer being divided for 2 freezers, all at no charge. The other day I tried on a dress of comparable value. Bag's a little in front of us, head, looking sideways into the mirror. There are branches to correct that, honey, she said, or we'll alter it for $3. And the sleeves, they hang so low. That'll be $2.50. You can roll them up and keep your elbows bent. I don't know, I pondered. Maybe a knit isn't for me. It clings so. Tell you what, she said. If you want to save $2, just bucket yourself by stretching over a chair for a couple of days. Or a sofa, depending on how loose you want it. I must just shorten it. $4, she said. But it'll be worth it. This dress will look like it's been made for you. Here, let me help you with the zipper. How much for helping me with the zipper? I chided. I'll throw it in, she said. I feel sorry for you. Pajama tryouts in Boston. I knew when I got a pair of at-home pajamas for Christmas I could never wear them at home. They were definitely not apparel to unclog a sink, paper tray a dog, or make pizza in. They're pajamas to sit on the sofa and cough in, or descend a stairway with a brandy sniffed in her hand, or pose for a magazine which had, Erma Bombeck could afford any of it she wanted, but she chose the Kenmore. That's why I took him out of town for a try run to get the bugs out before bringing them into my living room. The place was a reception in Boston. Shook them out of the suitcase, both of them, and took off. In my own mind, I envisioned my entrance as having the same impact as you would have seeing Elizabeth Taylor jog. I imagined conversation coming to a hush, glasses paralyzed in midair, jealous hearts taking the cap off the suicide rings, and a voice booming, "You and your sexy pajamas! You have our hearts, you she-devil, and wish to have our souls, too?" My interest produced as much excitement as a paperclip display in the lobby of the Bunny Club. "You're late, love," said one of my friends, putting an arm around my waist. "Good Lord, what's that?" she asked, her fingers touching a lump around my waist. "It's my slip," I said. Doesn't it bother you?" Only when I walk. You like my outfit? You look like someone I saw in a movie a while back. Betty Davis? Catherine Haas? No, Dustin Hoffman. There's something wrong with your cleavage." "What cleavage?" "That's what I mean. You're wearing your darts backward." "You know what? You got this thing on backward. Hey, gang, come look at this. Would you say the zipper goes in front? Maybe if you wore a wardrobe over it. I think the pajamas do their work before I bring them into my hometown for their big opening." Be yourself. I was walking along the central aisle of a department store the other day when a representative of a cosmetics firm smiled and beckoned me over to the counter. "You mean me?" She nodded, and she leaned over, sized me up, and whispered, "I can help." I was overwhelmed by the way she looked and the way she smelled. There sure wasn't any peanut butter growing on her fingernails. "First," she said, "I want you to walk from me." I felt like a fool. Stiffly, I swaggered out the handbags and back again. "Are you carrying your money in a knotted handkerchief tied to your knees?" "Why, am I walking funny?" "A bit subconscious, perhaps," she said. "Work on that later. Now, we're going to create a new you. First, your shape. You can do all kinds of artificial things to change it. Don't turn your back on me, dear." "I'm not," I said miserably. "Oh. Well, that can be fixed with padding. As for hips and waist, there are cinchers to wear. Now for the important part. Do you do anything to your hair?" "I put $3 each morning on the side I slept on the night before." "Perhaps the wig," she mused. "We'll just slip this on for effect. Now, what about the eyelashes?" "Those fake ones make me drowser." "You weren't putting them on properly," she said. "Now we'll accent your cheekbones with a dark makeup, making your face look thinner. You are rather sallow. We'll add this rouge to make you look vibrant and healthy. There now, have you always worn glasses?" "Only since college, when I went studying with a parking meter my junior and senior years." "I would suggest contacts. You really give the eyes a new dimension. And your nose, are you happy with it?" It works okay. I meant the shape of it. You know, cosmetic surgery is very common nowadays. You could have it bobbed and give her face a better profile. She worked on me for over an hour. In this session, it was laden with creams, liners, rouge, powder, nutrients, fake eyelashes, wigs, waist cincher padding, suggested doctors to cap my teeth, fix my nose, and outfit me in the contact lenses. Thank you very much, I stammered. You've certainly been a help. Just one last bit of advice, dear, she said softly, touching my shoulder. Be yourself. The end.